Daniel Johnson stood outside his own house, staring at the locked door as the cold autumn wind cut through his thin jacket. The home he had spent years building with his wife, Alicia, was no longer his. His suitcases sat on the porch like an unceremonious eviction notice, and the words from her lips still rang in his ears, "You need to leave, Daniel. I'm done with this marriage." It had happened so fast. One day they were a regular couple, arguing over dinner choices and weekend plans. The next, Alicia had become a millionaire overnight, and suddenly their vows meant nothing. The final blow, she had called security to make sure he left the property. Daniel clenched his fists, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. He had been faithful, supportive. He had married Alicia for love, not money. Yet here he was, discarded like a useless relic of her past. And the worst part, her family, the same people who had barely tolerated him, now treated him like a parasite. But what they didn't realize was that he wasn't walking away empty-handed. That prenup they had forced him to sign before the wedding, it was the one thing standing between them and complete victory. They had underestimated him, and he was about to show them just how wrong they were. Daniel sat in his car across the street from the house that was no longer his. The betrayal sat heavy on his chest, a weight he couldn't shake. Alicia hadn't just left him. She had tossed him aside like yesterday's news the moment she got rich. His phone buzzed. It was his mother, Deborah Johnson. "Baby, where are you? What happened?" He hesitated before answering, his voice hollow. "She kicked me out, Ma." Silence. Then a deep breath on the other end. "I told you the girl didn't love you the way you loved her," Deborah said, her voice filled with quiet pain. "Come home, Daniel. We'll figure this out." Daniel swallowed hard. He had worked so hard to prove to Alicia's wealthy family that he was more than just a man from the south side of Chicago. He had given his all to this marriage. But now he was nothing to them. He drove off, heading toward his parents' small but welcoming house. But before he could even process his emotions, his phone rang again. This time it was Jamal, his best friend and lawyer. "I heard what happened, man," Jamal said. "But listen to me. Don't let them push you out like this. You remember that prenup they forced you to sign?" Daniel frowned. "Yeah, what about it?" Jamal's voice held a sharp edge. "They messed up, bro. That prenup states that any large assets gained during the marriage are shared property. That lottery money, it's half yours." Daniel sat up straight, gripping the steering wheel. For the first time since Alicia had thrown him out, he felt something other than despair. He felt the fire of a fight coming. Daniel sat in Jamal's office, his fingers interlocked tightly as he stared at the legal documents spread across the mahogany desk. His heart pounded with a mix of anger and determination. Jamal leaned forward, tapping the prenuptial agreement with a confident smirk. "This is your ticket, bro." They thought they were protecting their daughter, but they forgot one thing. "This prenup protects you, too." Daniel exhaled, shaking his head. "You really think I can win this?" Jamal chuckled. "Man, I don't think I know. Alicia and her family are trying to play you, but they're about to find out they messed with the wrong one." Just as Daniel was beginning to feel some hope, Jamal's secretary knocked on the door. "Mr. Johnson, there's a woman here to see you." The door opened before they could ask who it was. Alicia's mother, Vivian Carter, stepped inside, her high heels clicking sharply against the floor. Her presence filled the room with cold authority. With her designer suit and diamond earrings, she looked every bit the woman who had always believed Daniel was beneath her daughter. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Walk away from this, Daniel," she said smoothly, setting her expensive leather purse on the desk. "Take a small settlement and leave my daughter alone." Daniel's jaw clenched. He had always respected Alicia's parents, even when they looked down on him. But this was insult on top of injury. Alicia was my wife, he said, his voice low but firm. We built a life together. And that money, he pointed to the prenuptial agreement, is half mine. Vivian's lips curled into a smirk. That money belongs to Alicia, not you. And if you think you can challenge us in court, you're in for a rude awakening. Jamal leaned back in his chair, watching the exchange like a man enjoying a game he knew he was going to win. Funny, he said, flipping through the prenup. Because according to this legal document, Daniel is entitled to half of Alicia's windfall. So, if you really want to push this, Mrs. Carter, we can take it all the way to court. Vivian's smirk faded. You're making a mistake, she warned Daniel. You have no idea what we're capable of. Daniel met her gaze without flinching. Neither do you. Vivian snatched up her purse, her movements sharp with frustration. Fine. You want war? You'll get it. She turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. Jamal let out a low whistle. Damn, bro. You just declared war on the Carter family. Daniel's hands curled into fists. They declared war the moment they threw me out of my own house. Jamal grinned. Then let's suit up, my guy, because this fight is just getting started. Daniel knew Vivian Carter wasn't bluffing. When she said he had no idea what they were capable of, she meant it. The first sign of war came 3 days later. He was staying at his parents' house when his bank app sent him an alert. His joint account with Alicia had been wiped clean. Every dollar he had left in that account was gone. His hands shook as he stared at the screen. He knew Alicia had access, but this was spiteful. Jamal's voice was sharp when Daniel called him. Damn, they're moving fast. You still got separate savings? Not much, Daniel admitted. Most of my money was in that account. Jamal cursed under his breath. All right, listen. First thing we do is freeze any remaining assets in your name. Then we file a motion to prevent Alicia from spending the winnings before the case is settled. Can we do that? Hell yeah, we can. They're trying to play dirty. We'll play smarter. But Alicia's family wasn't done. That same evening, Daniel got a call from a job he had applied for a few weeks back. It was a solid corporate position, exactly what he needed to start fresh. But the recruiter's tone was hesitant. Mr. Johnson, I'm afraid we have to rescind our offer. Daniel sat up. What? Why? A pause. Then the recruiter said, we received some concerning information about you. A letter from a concerned party stated that you're currently in a messy legal battle and may not be the best fit for the company. Daniel felt his stomach drop. That's ridiculous. I haven't done anything wrong. I understand, but we can't take risks. We appreciate your interest, and we wish you the best. Click. Daniel clenched his jaw, breathing heavily. He already knew who was behind it. Vivian Carter had pulled strings to cut off his financial stability and now his employment prospects. They wanted to back him into a corner, make him desperate enough to walk away. But he wasn't going anywhere. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Alicia. Just let it go, Daniel. You can't win. He stared at the words, his blood boiling. Jamal's voice echoed in his head, they're trying to play dirty. We'll play smarter. Daniel took a deep breath, then typed back, we'll see. He pressed send, then grabbed his keys. If the Carters wanted war, he was ready to fight. Daniel stepped into Jamal's office the next morning, his face set like stone. He tossed his phone onto the desk. They wiped out my account, blocked my job offer, and now Alicia is telling me to let it go. Jamal exhaled, shaking his head. They're pulling every trick in the book. But they're sloppy. He tapped on his laptop, eyes scanning the screen. I already filed the emergency motion to freeze the winnings. If the court grants it, Alicia won't be able to touch a dime until this is settled. Daniel leaned forward. How soon can we get that done? Could take a week, maybe less if we push hard. But in the meantime, we need to make moves. Jamal smirked. Time to remind them they're not the only ones who can play dirty. That evening, a bombshell article hit the internet. Lottery winner's husband sues for half in messy divorce of Alicia Carter. Daniel hadn't wanted to go public, but Jamal convinced him it was necessary. The Carters thrived in secrecy, but public scrutiny, that was their weakness. By morning, the story was everywhere. Talk shows debated it. Social media exploded with opinions. Some people called Daniel a gold digger. Others sided with him, pointing out that marriage was a partnership. Alicia fired back with a statement through her lawyer. My client worked hard to build her life and will not be taken advantage of. Mr. Johnson is trying to claim something that is not rightfully his. Daniel chuckled bitterly as he read it. Worked hard? She bought a damn lottery ticket. His phone rang. Jamal again. Bro, it's working. The court just granted our request. Alicia can't spend the money until this is settled. Daniel exhaled, feeling the first real victory in days. But it wasn't over. His phone buzzed again. A number he didn't recognize. He answered, and the voice on the other end sent a chill down his spine. Drop the case, Daniel, or else. Click. Daniel stared at the phone, his grip tightening. They were getting desperate. Good. Because he wasn't backing down. Daniel sat in his parents' living room, gripping his phone tightly. The unknown caller's threat echoed in his mind. Drop the case, Daniel, or else. His mother, Denise Johnson, watched him from across the room, her brows furrowed. Baby, what's wrong? Daniel exhaled. He didn't want to worry her, but he couldn't lie. Somebody just threatened me. Her eyes widened. Threatened you? Who? Daniel shook his head. I don't know, but I can guess. Denise sat forward, her face set in a scowl. That girl and her family have always been trouble. First they take your money. Now they're trying to scare you. Boy, you better not let them win. Daniel forced a small smile. His mother had always been tough, raising him and his siblings on a modest income, teaching them to stand their ground. I'm not backing down, Ma, he said. No matter what they try. Just then, his phone rang again. This time, it was Jamal. Yo, bro, you good? Jamal's voice was urgent. I just got word Alicia's lawyers filed a counter-motion. They're trying to get the prenup thrown out. Daniel's stomach clenched. On what grounds? They're claiming you signed it under duress. Basically, that you only agreed because you were pressured by her family. Daniel pinched the bridge of his nose. Man, that's some, if anything, the prenup protects me. I know, but they're grasping at straws. We'll fight it, but this just got messier. The next morning, Daniel woke up to banging on the door. He opened it to find 2 police officers standing outside. Daniel Johnson, one of them asked. Daniel frowned. Yeah. You're being served. Your ex-wife has filed a restraining order against you. His heart pounded. A restraining order? I haven't even spoken to her. One of the officers handed him the papers. We're just delivering the notice. You need to stay at least 500 feet away from Alicia Carter. Daniel gritted his teeth. This was a setup. They were trying to paint him as dangerous, hoping to weaken his case. He took the papers, breathing deeply to calm himself. As the officers left, he muttered under his breath, "All right, Alicia, you want to play dirty? Let's go." He picked up his phone and dialed Jamal. We're going to war. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Daniel stepped inside, his heart pounding, but his resolve unshaken. His lawyer, Jamal, sat beside him, flipping through documents with a confident smirk. Across the aisle, Alicia sat with her legal team, her expression cold and unreadable. Her mother, Vivian Carter, sat beside her, her gaze sharp as a knife. The judge, an older black woman with a commanding presence, entered the courtroom. The bailiff called for order, and the proceedings began. Alicia's lead attorney, a sharp-dressed man named Gregory Holmes, stood first. He adjusted his tie and approached the bench. "Your Honor, my client has filed a motion to dismiss Mr. Johnson's claim to the lottery winnings on the grounds that the prenuptial agreement should be nullified. Mr. Johnson signed under duress, influenced by the overwhelming wealth and pressure of my client's family." Jamal smirked. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. "With all due respect, Your Honor, this is nothing but a last-minute attempt to rewrite history. The prenuptial agreement was drafted fairly and signed in the presence of legal counsel. Mr. Johnson agreed to it willingly, and there was no coercion. Furthermore, the agreement clearly states that any substantial financial gain during the marriage is considered joint property." The judge nodded. "Mr. Holmes, do you have any evidence to support your claim of duress?" Gregory hesitated. "Well, Your Honor, we believe." "You believe?" the judge interrupted, raising an eyebrow. "Do you have any proof?" Gregory cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. "No, Your Honor." The judge sighed. "Then let's move on. Mr. Carter, you may proceed with your argument." Jamal stood again, walking towards the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about fairness. My client, Daniel Johnson, built a life with Alicia Carter. He stood by her, supported her, and contributed to their marriage. When she won the lottery, did she celebrate with her husband? No. She immediately filed for divorce and emptied their bank account, trying to leave him with nothing. He turned to the judge. "Your Honor, the law is clear. Marital assets must be divided fairly, and the prenuptial agreement, which they insisted on, confirms that these winnings fall under marital property." He placed a document on the judge's desk. "I submit Exhibit A, the prenuptial agreement, signed, dated, and notarized. It states that any financial gains over $250,000 during the marriage are shared assets." The judge skimmed the document. Her expression remained neutral, but Daniel could see the gears turning in her head. Jamal continued, "Mrs. Carter and her family believe they could intimidate my client into giving up what's rightfully his, but the law is the law." The judge leaned forward. "I've heard enough." She turned to Alicia's side. "Mrs. Carter, your motion to dismiss is denied. The prenuptial agreement stands." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Alicia's face twisted in anger. Her mother whispered furiously in her ear. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "I find that the lottery winnings are indeed marital property. Mr. Johnson is entitled to half, $4.5 million. A stunned silence filled the room, then gasps. Alicia's mouth fell open in shock. Vivian Carter's face turned red with fury. Daniel felt the weight lift from his shoulders. He had won. The judge banged the gavel. Court adjourned. As Daniel stepped out of the courthouse, a mix of emotions ran through him. The relief of winning his case was undeniable. But the battle wasn't over. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was an unknown number. He hesitated before answering. "You think this is over, Daniel?" a familiar voice sneered. It was Vivian Carter, Alicia's mother. "You humiliated us in court. But trust me, you're not going to enjoy that money for long." Daniel smirked. "Vivian, you and your daughter tried to cheat me out of what's rightfully mine. The law sided with me. You lost. Accept it and move on. You'll regret this," she spat before hanging up. Jamal, who had been standing beside him, raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess. Alicia's mama still running her mouth?" Daniel nodded. "She's mad, but I'm not worried. She can't change the court's decision." Jamal chuckled. True, but knowing the Carters, they might try something else. You need to be careful. Daniel sighed. He knew his best move was to stay ahead of whatever they planned. Inside the Carter family estate, Alicia sat in her lavish bedroom, fuming. Her mother paced back and forth. "I can't believe this," Vivian ranted. "That judge robbed us. And that fool Daniel, he thinks he's won." Alicia scowled. "I want that money back, Mama. There has to be a way to make him suffer." Vivian's eyes gleamed. "We'll make sure he never enjoys a dime of it." Alicia smirked. "I have an idea." She picked up her phone and dialed a number. "Hey, baby." "Long time," she cooed. On the other end, a deep male voice chuckled. "Alicia, didn't expect to hear from you. What's up?" "I need a favor, Derek. And if you help me, I'll make it worth your while." Her plan was in motion. Alicia's heels clicked against the marble floor as she entered an upscale lounge on the outskirts of the city. Seated in a dimly lit booth was Derek, her ex-boyfriend from college, a man with a dangerous reputation. He leaned back, a cocky smirk on his face as she slid into the seat across from him. "So, what's this favor you need?" Derek asked, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. Alicia leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. "I want Daniel humiliated. I want him to suffer." Derek raised an eyebrow. "That's cute, but humiliation ain't free, sweetheart. What's in it for me?" Alicia smirked. "A piece of the $4.5 million he just won in court. Once he's desperate, I'll manipulate him into handing it over." Derek chuckled. "You really think I can just break him like that?" "Daniel ain't no fool." "Everyone has a weakness," Alicia sneered. "Find his. Make him miserable." Derek took a sip of his drink, considering. Then he nodded. "I'll take care of it." Derek put his plan into motion the next day. Using his street connections, he spread rumors that Daniel had come into sudden wealth and was careless with his money. The goal? Attract thieves, con artists, and dangerous figures who would either trick Daniel or outright rob him. But Daniel was no fool. From the moment he won the case, he had been cautious. He moved his money into protected accounts, hired a financial advisor, and surrounded himself with trusted people. When strangers started approaching him with suspicious business deals, he ignored them. One night, as Daniel was leaving a restaurant, a group of men approached him. Their leader, a tall man with a scar on his cheek, flashed a fake, friendly grin. "Yo, you're Daniel, right? The lottery guy. Got a business opportunity for you. Quick cash, no risk." Daniel smirked. "No risk? That's funny because you look like a whole lot of risk to me." The man's grin faltered. "Look, man, don't be stupid." "Nah," Daniel interrupted. "See, I know exactly what this is. Y'all were sent to bait me into something reckless. Tell Derek and Alicia their little plan failed. Now get out of my way." The men hesitated. One looked ready to start something, but a few security guards from the restaurant had started watching. Realizing they had lost, the group backed off, muttering curses under their breath. Daniel walked away, grinning. Back at her penthouse, Alicia was seething. "He didn't fall for it," she shouted into the phone. Derek sighed. "Nope. Your ex got smart, moved his money, and played it safe. The dude ain't dumb." Alicia threw her wine glass against the wall. "Useless. You're useless." Derek laughed. "Don't get mad at me, sweetheart. You lost. Accept it." He hung up. Alicia clenched her fists, breathing heavily. She had thrown everything she could at Daniel, and he had walked away untouched. And that infuriated her. Meanwhile, Daniel was thriving. He had used a portion of his winnings to buy his parents a beautiful new home, ensuring they never had to struggle again. He invested wisely, setting up businesses that would generate wealth for years to come. Most importantly, he was free. No more Alicia, no more controlling in-laws, no more manipulation. One evening, as he stood on the balcony of his new condo overlooking the city, he exhaled deeply. The air felt different, lighter. He had fought for his freedom, and he had won. Alicia was not one to accept defeat easily. With her schemes failing and her reputation ruined, she was desperate. She had lost Daniel, lost half of her lottery winnings, and worst of all, her mother no longer saw her as the golden child. One evening, she showed up at Daniel's condo unannounced. Dressed in a sleek black dress, her makeup flawless, she rang the doorbell and waited. When Daniel opened the door, his expression didn't change. No anger, no warmth, just calm indifference. "What do you want, Alicia?" he asked. She put on her best smile. "I came to talk. Can I come in?" Daniel folded his arms. "We don't have anything to talk about." Alicia sighed, dropping the act. "Look, I messed up. I was blinded by the money, by my family's expectations. But you and I, we were good once, weren't we?" Daniel leaned against the door frame. "That was before you chose greed over loyalty." She reached for his hand, but he pulled back. "We can fix this, Daniel. We can start over." Daniel let out a short laugh. "You're not here for me. You're here because your money's running out. And you finally realized I was the best thing that ever happened to you." Alicia's face twisted in frustration. "So that's it? You're just going to throw away what we had? You threw it away the moment you filed for divorce and tried to cheat me out of my share," he said. "Goodbye, Alicia." And with that, he closed the door in her face. Alicia stood there for a long time, staring at the closed door, realizing that for the first time in her life, she had truly lost. Months passed, and Daniel's life continued to flourish. His businesses were thriving. His parents were happier than ever, and he had found peace. One evening, as he walked through a park enjoying the cool autumn breeze, he noticed a woman sitting on a bench reading a book. She was beautiful, with deep brown skin and eyes that radiated warmth. As he passed by, she looked up and smiled. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" she said. Daniel smiled back. "It is." And for the first time in a long while, he felt a spark, not just of attraction, but of hope. His past was behind him. His future was wide open. And this time, he was in full control of his destiny. Hi besties. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.